Old Hollywood looked like the center of the world, a place where dreams came true under the California sun. The studios ruled like kingdoms. The premieres lit up the night with flashbulbs, and the fame seemed endless. But for some of its biggest stars, that golden city eventually turned cold. Scandals broke them, politics hunted them, and heartbreak chased them across the ocean. Once they left the United States, they never looked back. These weren't failures fading into obscurity. These were legends at the height of their powers, names everyone knew, faces on every screen. But something pushed them out. Some escaped headlines that wouldn't stop. Some were running from the government itself, and others just wanted peace far from the cameras. Every story reveals what Hollywood doesn't advertise, that sometimes a dream isn't worth the cost, and sometimes freedom means walking away from everything you built. They found new lives across the ocean. Quiet apartments in Paris, villas on Swiss lakes, castles in Monaco, beach towns in Mexico. They traded red carpets for cobblestone streets. Fame for privacy, and most never regretted it. These are 15 old Hollywood stars who left America and never came home. Some were exiled, some escaped, some simply chose differently, but all prove the same truth. Hollywood's borders were never the edge of the world, only the edge of a dream. Charlie Chaplin, Switzerland. He built Hollywood with his bare hands, creating an art form that had never existed before. The little tramp with the cane and the bowler hat became the most recognizable figure in the world. Charlie Chaplin was American cinema itself, the man who made the entire world laugh without saying a single word. But the country he helped build turned on him with shocking viciousness. The Red Scare came sweeping through Hollywood in the early 1950s, destroying careers with whispered accusations. Communist sympathies, they said about Chaplin, un-American activities, dangerous foreign influence. The FBI had been watching him for years. In September 1952, Chaplin sailed to England for the premiere of his film Limelight. While he was at sea, the U.S. Attorney General revoked his re-entry permit. If he wanted to come back, he would have to face questioning and defend himself before committees. Chaplin made his decision on that ship. He would not return. He settled in Switzerland instead, purchasing a manor called Manor de Ban overlooking Lake Geneva. For the next 25 years, Switzerland became his refuge. He wrote music for his old films, raised a large family with his wife Una, and worked in peace without the surveillance he'd endure in America. In 1972, Hollywood called him back with an honorary Oscar. Chaplin returned for one night only, receiving a standing ovation that lasted 12 minutes. Then he flew back to Switzerland. Chaplin died there on Christmas morning 1977, surrounded by his family. The nation that made him the most famous man in the world had pushed him out. But in Switzerland, he found freedom and control over his own life. He left America behind, but his films never did. Olivia de Havilland, France. She fought the studios and won a battle that changed Hollywood forever. Olivia de Havilland took Warner Brothers to court in 1943 and broke the contract system that treated actors like studio property. The de Havilland law freed countless actors from contracts that could be extended indefinitely. She proved that stars could have rights. But after that hard-won victory, she decided she wanted out entirely. In 1955, while working in Europe, de Havilland met Pierre Galanti, a French journalist who saw her as a woman first and a movie star second. When they married in 1956, she made a surprising decision. She would move to Paris and leave American film behind. She was tired of studio wars, exhausted by constant rivalries with her sister Joan Fontaine, worn down by relentless press attention. She wanted a life that belonged to her. De Havilland lived in Paris for 64 years, longer than anywhere else. She maintained an elegant apartment in the 16th arrondissement, raised her daughter in both French and English, and made a handful of carefully chosen European films. Hollywood had become an ocean away. She returned to America only for special occasions, then always back to Paris. When she died in 2020 at age 104, de Havilland had outlived the entire studio system. She never needed America after leaving. Paris gave her what Hollywood never could, the freedom to be herself and age with dignity away from the cameras. She left Hollywood before Hollywood could leave her. Josephine Baker, France. America didn't want her, not in the way that mattered. Josephine Baker was black, beautiful, and too talented to ignore, but Hollywood wouldn't give her the roles she deserved. The clubs paid her less than white performers. Racism was everywhere, in every contract, every casting decision. She could entertain America, but couldn't be equal in America. So at 19, she made the decision that would define her life. She left. In 1925, Baker sailed to Paris for a law review Niger. France didn't just accept her. France fell in love with her. She became the biggest star in Europe almost overnight, dancing at the Folies Bergère, becoming the most photographed woman in the world. Most importantly, she lived without the crushing weight of American racism. For the first time, Baker was simply a person. When World War II came, Baker joined the French resistance, using her fame to smuggle intelligence hidden in sheet music and written in invisible ink. She risked everything for France. After the war, France awarded her the Croix de Guerre and citizenship, giving her respect as a full human being. Baker returned to America occasionally for civil rights work, marching with Martin Luther King Jr., but she never moved back. Her home was a chateau in the Dordogne, where she adopted 12 children from around the globe, her rainbow tribe. She performed until April 1975, when she collapsed after a Paris show and died 2 days later. She didn't just leave America, she escaped it. And in France, she finally became free. Grace Kelly Monaco. She was perfect, or at least Hollywood insisted she represent perfection. Grace Kelly embodied untouchable elegance that made her Alfred Hitchcock's favorite muse. She won an Academy Award at 26 and became one of the biggest stars in American cinema. Then she gave it all up for what looked like a fairy tale. In 1955, while attending Cannes, Kelly met Prince Rainier III of Monaco. They corresponded, he courted her, and in 1956 they married in the wedding of the century, broadcast to over 30 million viewers. Grace Kelly became Princess Grace, and the world thought she had won everything. But prizes come with prices. The palace didn't want an actress as their princess. Monaco needed respectability, and having their princess in films didn't fit that image. Grace agreed to give up her career, though friends later said it wasn't entirely her choice. She raised 3 children, supported the arts, attended endless events. She smiled for cameras but couldn't act anymore. That life ended at 26. Over the years, Grace tried to return to acting. Hitchcock wanted her for Marnie, but Monaco objected and she withdrew. Friends said she missed the work, missed having something that was hers alone. But she had made her choice. In September 1982, Grace Kelly died in a car accident at 52. She had lived in Monaco for 26 years, longer than her film career. The fairy tale was real, but it cost her everything that had made Grace Kelly who she was in the first place. Marlene Dietrich, France. Marlene Dietrich was ice and fire, a woman who seemed beyond normal human limitations, glamorous beyond description, untouchable in her mystique. She was a legend while still alive. She had been a star in Germany before Hollywood, survived the transition from silence to talkies, performed for Allied troops during World War II while Germany marked her a traitor. But when the lights went out on her career, when age caught up, she made one final choice about how she would be remembered. Dietrich spent decades on stages worldwide after a film career wound down. She appeared in nightclubs and concert halls, always perfectly lit, always in costumes designed to create illusions. But age is relentless, and by the mid-1970s, injuries forced her to stop. The tours ended, and Dietrich faced something she'd avoided her entire life, being seen as ordinary and aging. She moved into an apartment in Paris on Avenue Montaigne and locked the door behind her. For 17 years, Marlene Dietrich lived like a ghost. She refused almost all visitors, declined all photographers, avoided being seen at any cost. A few trusted friends visited. She spoke by telephone. But no one could photograph her. No one could see what time had done to the face called the most beautiful in cinema. It was control, the same control she'd exercised over her image for 50 years. The world remembered her young and perfect, and she was determined to keep that memory intact. Dietrich died in that Paris apartment in May 1992 at 90, having lived in isolation for nearly 2 decades. She became a memory while still alive, frozen in time, untouched by age. Ava Gardner, Spain and England. Ava Gardner was fire incarnate, too wild and too honest for manufactured Hollywood publicity. She was breathtakingly beautiful, talented beyond what studios fully utilized, and utterly incapable of playing the game they wanted. Hollywood loved her on screen where they could control her, but off-screen they wanted control too. The press followed her everywhere. Her marriages made headlines. Her drinking made headlines. Everything made headlines. She couldn't breathe in America without someone taking a photograph. So she left. In 1955, Gardner moved to Madrid, fleeing the publicity machine for a city where she could walk streets without constant surveillance. She wanted real freedom, and Spain gave her that. She lived simply, went to flamenco shows and bullfights, made friends who knew her as Ava the woman, not the movie star. She dated a Spanish bullfighter, lived a life impossible in Los Angeles. The tabloids eventually found her, but distance helped immensely. She continued working when she wanted to, mostly in European productions. She returned to America only for major projects, then straight back across the Atlantic. Madrid until 1968, then London for her final 22 years. Gardner's London years were quieter. She lived in a modest flat near Hyde Park, walked her dog, watched old movies, read voraciously. The wild days were behind her. She worked occasionally, taking character roles. Age freed her from being the beautiful temptress. She died in London in January 1990 at 67. Having lived in Europe for 35 years, more than half her life, she found what Hollywood could never give: peace and freedom from constant judgment. David Niven, Switzerland and France. David Niven was charm itself, a man who glided through life with wit and elegance. British by birth, he brought European sophistication to Hollywood, but never felt at home in the culture. Hollywood was never truly home for Niven. It was just a very lucrative workplace. Europe was where his heart lived, and eventually he made that choice permanent. By the early 1960s, Niven decided he would base himself permanently in Europe, returning to America only when work required it. He purchased a chalet in Château-d'Aix, Switzerland, then added a villa in Cap Ferret on the French Riviera. The Riviera suited him perfectly, a place where conversation mattered as much as celebrity, where being cultured counted more than box office receipts. From his European base, Niven continued working prolifically, appearing in dozens of films. Most were European productions now, allowing him to work without leaving the continent. He wrote best-selling memoirs that revealed his talent as a storyteller. The Moon's a Balloon and Bring on the Empty Horses captured a lost Hollywood with affection and humor. He lived like a proper gentleman when not working, collecting art, hosting dinners, sailing the Mediterranean. Even when ALS began stealing his voice in the early 1980s, Niven refused to stop working. He appeared in films with his dialogue dubbed, refusing to let disease take away his profession. He died at his Swiss chalet in July 1983, surrounded by family. Niven never needed America the way America needed him. He was always a European who worked in Hollywood. His elegance fit Europe better than Los Angeles ever could. Deborah Kerr, Switzerland and Spain. Deborah Kerr was grace under pressure, carrying herself with dignity through a career that brought 6 Oscar nominations but never the win. She played proper English ladies and repressed souls, embodying elegant restraint audiences found captivating. From The King and I to From Here to Eternity, she proved she could do it all. But after 2 decades of studio demands and constant work, Kerr decided she had given enough. She wanted her life back. In the 1960s, Kerr began removing herself from Hollywood's grip. She married writer Peter Viertel, and together they chose Europe as their home. First Switzerland near Lucerne, then Marbella on Spain's Costa del Sol. The Swiss lifestyle suited her, with emphasis on privacy. Later, Spain's gentle climate and relaxed pace felt even better. These were conscious choices, deliberate steps away from the Hollywood machine. Kerr continued to work occasionally, but on her own terms, accepting only projects that genuinely interested her. Some television work, a few stage productions, selected film roles that didn't require relocating for months. The studio system that once dictated her every move no longer had any power. She could say no, could choose rest over work, could prioritize health and marriage over another paycheck. In the 1990s, Parkinson's disease began its slow theft of her physical abilities, but Kerr faced it with quiet dignity. She died in England in 2007, but Switzerland and Spain have been her true home for 4 decades, places where she finally rested after the long marathon of her career. She left Hollywood without drama, simply choosing to live elsewhere and be elsewhere. Sophia Loren, Switzerland. Sophia Loren was Italy's gift to world cinema, a woman whose beauty and talent transcended boundaries to make her one of the most recognized faces on the planet. She came from poverty in war-torn Naples and rose to become an international icon, winning an Academy Award and starring in dozens of films. She embodied Italy itself, passionate and vibrant. But in the 1970s, the country she represented turned on her. Italian tax authorities accused Loren of tax evasion, claiming she owed millions in back taxes. The case became a public spectacle, with newspapers tracking every development. She actually spent 17 days in jail in 1982, a humiliation for someone of her stature. It became clear that staying in Italy was no longer viable if she wanted to continue working internationally and protect her family. Loren established permanent residence in Switzerland, first in Geneva and later near Lugano. Swiss residency solved her tax problems and gave her a secure base for her global career. She never stopped working, never stopped being Italy's cinematic ambassador, but she did it from across the border now, from a country that wouldn't prosecute her for success. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. Italy claimed Loren as its greatest actress, used her image to sell everything from tourism to fashion, took pride in her international success. But when it came to taxes, Italy drove her out. Switzerland became her refuge and home. She raised her 2 sons there, built a life there, continued representing Italian culture while living elsewhere. Loren still lives in Switzerland today, nearly 90, still working occasionally. She proved that exile doesn't diminish a legend. She left Italy but kept its love. Audrey Hepburn, Switzerland. Audrey Hepburn was elegance itself, grace made visible, the embodiment of refined beauty that felt both timeless and utterly of her moment. From Roman Holiday to Breakfast at Tiffany's, she defined an era with performances combining vulnerability with strength. The world adored her, but fame of that magnitude comes with a cost most never see. Hepburn had experienced true hardship during World War II, had known hunger as a child in Nazi-occupied Holland. Perhaps that perspective made her value peace more than most stars. She decided her sons would have what she had lost, a real childhood away from cameras. In the early 1960s, after her first marriage ended, Hepburn made a decision that shocked Hollywood. She would move to Switzerland, to a small village called Tolakinaz on Lake Geneva's shores. She purchased a simple farmhouse she named La Paisible, the peaceful place. This wasn't a celebrity compound. It was a home where she could raise her 2 sons without them being treated as accessories to her fame. Hepburn continued making films after moving, but everything changed. She only accepted projects when she genuinely wanted to work. She could afford to be selective, had the courage to say no. Family came first now, not career advancement. Her sons attended local schools, played with friends without bodyguards, had normal childhoods. In the 1980s, after her sons were grown, Hepburn became a UNICEF Goodwill Ambassador, traveling to war zones to advocate for children. It was perhaps her finest role, the most meaningful work of her life. Hepburn died at La Paisible in January 1993, cancer taking her swiftly at 63. She had left the studio race decades earlier, chosen real life over Hollywood's version of life. Jean Seberg, France. Jean Seberg was a fresh-faced American girl who became the face of French New Wave cinema. She was only 17 when Otto Preminger cast her as Joan of Arc, thrusting her into scrutiny that would have destroyed someone twice her age. The film was savage. She was ridiculed. But she survived and found herself in Paris working with Jean-Luc Godard on Breathless, the film that would define her career and change cinema forever. Seberg moved to Paris in the late 1950s and made it her permanent home, finding artistic freedom and cultural respect Hollywood never offered. She worked with the best European directors, married French director Romain Gary, settled into Parisian life. But she remained politically engaged in American issues, particularly civil rights, and that engagement would destroy her. She donated to the Black Panther Party and spoke out against racism. The FBI noticed and decided to make an example of her. What followed was surveillance and character assassination bordering on governmental torture. The FBI spread false rumors that Hepburn was pregnant with Black Panther's child, deliberately planned to destroy her reputation. The smear campaign worked devastatingly. Newspapers printed the rumors. Her marriage crumbled. She went into premature labor from stress. Her baby died 2 days after birth. Hepburn held a public funeral with an open casket to prove the FBI's lies. The surveillance never stopped, and something essential broke inside her. In August 1979, Jean Hepburn's body was found in her car in Paris, dead from an overdose. She was 40. She had left America for freedom, but America's reach was long. She died in exile, haunted until the end. Johnny Weissmuller, Mexico. He was Tarzan, the role that made him immortal and simultaneously trapped him in a specific image forever. Johnny Weissmuller had been one of the greatest Olympic swimmers in history before Hollywood discovered him, winning 5 gold medals. But to the world, he would always be the Jungle King. He made 19 Tarzan films, then moved to a similar series as Jungle Jim. By the time the roles dried up in the late 1950s, Weissmuller was in his 50s. Hollywood had no use for an aging Tarzan, so he looked elsewhere. In the 1960s, Weissmuller moved to Acapulco, Mexico, that legendary beach resort where the Pacific meets dramatic cliffs and life moves at its own relaxed pace. He opened a small hotel and lent his name to various beach clubs and swimming exhibitions, trading on his fame in ways that let him stay near the water he loved. Acapulco suited him perfectly, a place where tourists appreciated meeting the real Tarzan, where locals treated him as an honored guest, where he could swim every day in warm ocean waters. The money wasn't great, and Weissmuller's finances had never been well managed. Multiple divorces depleted his savings. By his later years, he was living modestly, dependent on friends' kindness and Mexican authorities' generosity. He drank more than he should have, his health declined, but he seemed content. No more studios telling him what to do. No more pressure to maintain an impossible physical standard. Weissmuller spent his final decades in Acapulco. He died there in January 1984 at 79, having lived in Mexico for over 20 years. The Jungle King retired to waterfront, trading manufactured adventures for real sunsets. James Mason, Switzerland and France. James Mason was intelligence embodied on screen, an actor who brought depth and complexity to every role. Sophisticated, cultured, capable of playing heroes and villains with equal conviction. He possessed acting range that came from genuine intellect. Born in England, he had conquered British cinema before moving to Hollywood in the late 1940s. But Hollywood had never quite felt right to Mason, had never matched his sensibilities. The factory system bored him. The cultural landscape felt thin. He was simply too European in his thinking. In the early 1960s, after establishing himself as a bankable Hollywood star, Mason relocated permanently to Europe. He purchased property near Geneva, Switzerland, later acquired a home in St. Paul-de-Vence in southern France, that medieval village perched above Nice that had become an artist's colony. These locations suited Mason perfectly, places where conversation mattered more than box office, where being well-read was as important as being famous. From his European base, Mason continued working prolifically, appearing in dozens of films. Most were European productions now, allowing him to work on the continent without returning to California. He worked with better directors, got better scripts, played more interesting characters than Hollywood would have offered. Between films, he wrote thoughtful essays about acting, collected art seriously, lived a life of a cultured expatriate who happened to also be a movie star. Mason was working on a film in Switzerland when he died suddenly of a heart attack in July 1984. He was 75 and had lived in Europe for over 20 years. He moved for creative and practical freedom and found both. Europe gave him respect for intelligence and craft. Maurice Chevalier, France. Maurice Chevalier was Hollywood's favorite Frenchman, the charming entertainer with a distinctive accent, rakish smile, and iconic straw boater hat. He embodied French sophistication and romance that American audiences couldn't get enough of during early talkies. His accent, which might have been a liability, became his greatest asset. He starred in lavish Paramount musicals, romanced the biggest leading ladies, became one of the highest-paid actors in early 1930s Hollywood. But for Chevalier, Hollywood was always a chapter, never the whole story, and certainly never home. France was home, Paris was home. Chevalier conquered Hollywood precisely because he never really wanted to stay. He came, he worked, he charmed everyone, then went back to France as soon as contract allowed. He had been a star in Paris long before Hollywood discovered him. By the mid-1930s, as his film career in America began slowing, Chevalier made clear he was returning to France permanently. Hollywood had been lucrative and fun, but Paris was where he belonged. He spent the rest of his long career performing in France, making French films, recording songs that became standards, giving concerts that showed his remarkable ability to connect with audiences. He worked continuously through the war years, which later brought some controversy, though evidence suggested he simply tried to survive and keep working under occupation. After the war, he resumed his place as one of France's most beloved entertainers, the voice of Paris itself. Chevalier returned to America occasionally for special projects, including a Hollywood comeback in Love in the Afternoon and Gigi during the 1950s. But these were just visits. Paris remained his base. He died there in January 1972 at 83. Hollywood launched him worldwide, but France kept him. Ingrid Bergman, Europe. Ingrid Bergman was purity incarnated on screen. At least that's what Hollywood insisted she represent. Luminous, naturally beautiful, talented in a way that made acting look effortless. She embodied wholesome radiance audiences found irresistible. From Casablanca to Gaslight to Notorious, she became one of the biggest stars in American cinema. She was America's sweetheart, the good woman who made you believe in virtue and love. Then she shattered that image completely, and America turned on her with viciousness. In 1949, while still married with a young daughter at home, Bergman fell in love with Italian director Roberto Rossellini. She left her family, moved to Italy to be with him, became pregnant with his child before any divorce was finalized. To modernize, this might seem personal, messy, but ultimately human. But in 1949 America, it was treated as a moral catastrophe. The press attacked her savagely. Politicians condemned her on the Senate floor. She was essentially exiled from Hollywood by public demand. One senator called her a horrible example of womanhood. Bergman made her choice and moved to Italy permanently, marrying Rossellini and working in European cinema for 7 years. She appeared in his neo-realist films, stripped of Hollywood glamour, playing real women. The American public, who once loved her, now shunned her. But in Europe, she rebuilt herself as an artist rather than a movie star. Eventually, Hollywood forgave her. She won another Oscar for Anastasia in 1956. But she never fully returned to America, never made her home again. She kept residences in Europe, primarily Paris and London. Bergman died in London on her 67th birthday in August 1982. She had left America after a tabloid storm, and in Europe she became real again, human again, an actress rather than an icon. Old Hollywood promised immortality, a kind of eternal life through celluloid and fame that would outlast any mortal existence. The lights, the premieres, the adoring crowds, the sense that you had become part of something larger than yourself. But for some stars, that promise came with too many strings attached, too many demands, too many invasions of privacy. Immortality wasn't worth the price of never having a real life. For these 15 stars, freedom meant leaving it all behind. They traded red carpets for quiet cafes where they could sit unrecognized and watch the world go by. They traded camera flashes for sunsets over Mediterranean or Alps, natural beauty requiring no performance. They traded relentless fame for blessed privacy, the ability to walk down a street without being mobbed, to eat dinner without being photographed. Most never looked back with regret, never seemed to miss the Hollywood machine that had consumed so much of their youth. These stars didn't fail Hollywood. They chose differently, made the conscious decision that there were more important things than fame and fortune. They walked away from the dream that was breaking them. that was demanding too much and giving too little. They found new countries that offered what America couldn't, whether political refuge, artistic freedom, tax relief, or simply the chance to live without constant surveillance. They learned new languages, adopted new customs, became part of new communities that valued them for who they were rather than what they represented. In the end, they left America, but they never really left cinema. Their films remain eternal, constantly rediscovered by new generations. Their names remain legendary, spoken with reverence. Their legacies remain untarnished by time, perhaps even enhanced by the choice to walk away while still on top. These were the old Hollywood stars who left the United States for good, who crossed oceans and never came back, who found freedom in exile and peace and privacy. And somewhere far beyond the lights, they finally found themselves.